Oh, you know what? Hey, audit and fraud friends and family. Look, check this out. I got a question for you. Imagine, hmm, what if the person promising you peace of mind had already quietly redirected your money to mansions, flights, and hidden companies? How do you spot the lines between bad business, bold business, and outright betrayal? We're diving into that fine line today. I say this every week, but just this one is crazy too, y'all. All of them are crazy. Are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Friday Fraudster podcast. Join them as they discuss sad, funny, and sometimes disturbing fraud stories. Be sure to catch past episodes on your favorite podcasting platform or go to www.fridayfraudster.com.
All right. Hey, everybody. I am Rob, your host of the Friday Fraudster. Welcome back. I got a quick question for you, and we're going to ask our guest this very same question. I know I asked one in the beginning, but let me dig a little deeper. When you hand your money over to someone in whatever form, what assumptions do you make about that money? Like, for example, do you assume that the person is working in your best interest, that they're following the rules, that they're being audited, that they're being checked? What assumptions do you make when you hand your money over to someone? All right. So, without further ado, let's just bring up our guest for this week, Thomas, Stephanie. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing great. And I don't know what you're talking about, Rob. I'm married. I don't get to hand money to anybody.
I mean, I think you get to hand money to one person.
That's fair.
Okay. But seriously, Stephanie, question. When you hand money over to someone, in whatever form you give it to them in, what assumptions do you make about that money?
They're going to use it for its intended purpose, hopefully. Unless it's my kid, he'll blow it on candy.
Okay, fair enough. So if you hand money over to another reasonable, rational adult, you would expect them to use that money for the reasoning and context within which you gave it to them.
Yep, exactly.
What about you, Thomas?
Yep, yeah, exactly right. And I guess that's why sometimes it's hard to, if you see someone on the side of the street asking for money, a lot of times you hesitate because you don't know if they're going to use it in ways that you would want them to. So yeah, I mean, yeah, hand the money over to someone else. Regardless of what the situation, you expect it to be used, yeah, for what you intended it for to be.
Oh, you make a really good analogy here because, and I think I may have told this story before on past shows. So, but it's almost like when you give money to that homeless person that has the sign up that says hungry, and then they go and buy drugs instead of food, if they're a drug addict, right? So I remember, so when I was younger, I used to keep a couple of dollars in that console, you have in your car. And I would always give money out to the homeless as we approached this one intersection. And it was just something I got from my best friend. One day, Terrell and I were in his car and we were driving and we pulled up to this intersection. And this old man kind of looked at him and waved and he gave the old man some money. And I was like, "You know him?" He was like, "Nah, but he's always here asking for money. And I always have a little bit of money left over. So I just give it to him." It's like, "Oh, so you always have money right here in this little console." And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh." So I started keeping money in my console and I would just give money. So one day I'm pulling up to this intersection and I didn't have any money, but I saw this guy and he had this sign that said hungry. And so there was a Burger King close by and I was going to the Burger King anyway. So I went through the drive through and I got an extra burger and fries and I pulled back to the intersection and I handed the man the burger and the fries. He opened the bag up, looked at it and said to me, "I don't want this. I want some money."
Yep.
Mhm.
And I was like, whoa, okay.
I've seen
So
some with signs that say, "Why lie? I just want a beer." I'm like, "All right, you're being truthful."
there you go. There you go. Marsha says, hey, been a long time. It has been a long time. You've been avoiding us. You don't like us anymore. Okay. So now, yeah, Lisa says, Lisa, I owe you a phone call. I'm so sorry. I've been so busy and swamped. I do owe you a phone call. Lisa says, if I give my money to anyone, I'm expecting what you said you deliver, right? Otherwise, there will be a problem immediately. That's pretty reasonable, right? Like I,
Yep.
I
you
think
know,
so.
I mean, like if the homeless man says that he's hungry and I give him some money, I expect him to go buy some food. Or if I give you
If
some food, I
only.
don't expect you to throw it back in my face. Oh, okay. Okay. So it seems like we're all reasonable, rational people. Lisa said he didn't ask for a Happy Meal. No,
Nope.
no, he
He
didn't.
was angry he didn't get the toy.
You're right. So, but okay. So we're all adults here then, right? We're reasonable and rational. You give someone money, they should use it for a certain purpose. So today, we're going to begin in Texas and in Kansas. Brad Hepner, age 59, was the founder and longtime executive of a firm called Beneficient. Now, this was a Dallas-based investment platform offering liquidity solutions for alternative assets. Meanwhile, he also became the chairman of a publicly traded company, GWG Holdings. Now, that's a company that sold bonds largely to retail investors and also many retirees. In Kansas, Beneficient had secured a special charter under the state's technology enabled fiduciary financial institution. So, a charter for a special kind of bank. This was a big deal because it gave the company banking type status in Kansas. So now on the surface, he's a successful CEO of two different firms. He had some political involvement in Kansas and he was, well to do. But behind the scenes, it's always the behind the scenes. Something else was afoot. So, okay, this one is going to take a minute to unpack. So you guys are going to have to be patient with me because
Yeah.
it has more twists and turns than, I don't know, Formula One racing.
Don't they just kind of have like one big turn? Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Formula One is the
Oh no,
one that
that's
usually
NASCAR.
goes
Sorry.
through. Yeah, that's NASCAR. Yeah. NASCAR is
There's
just
been
the
a
one big
tornado in
turn.
Kansas.
Oh, there you go. I like that. Yeah. Okay. So, according to the federal indictment, Hepner allegedly created a shell company called Highland Consolidated Limited Partners, HCLP. And this was a company that he controlled. So now, mind you, at this point, we've got the Dallas-based firm Beneficient. We've got the technology-enabled bank, and then he's on a board of another company. And now we have HCLP. So now through this shell company, he orchestrated a $141 million debt that Beneficient owed to this company. So now his one company owes 141 million to the other company. Problem is, HCLP wasn't an independent lender. He had controlling interests in both companies. So now here's where the plot thickens. As chairman of GWG, he convinced the company's board to invest heavily in Beneficient. So the company where he was just sitting on the board, he encouraged them to invest in Beneficient, the company that he owned. Conflict of interest, anyone? Like you seeing that already? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, now, in part of the reason he wanted them to do that was to pay off the debt that Beneficient owed HCLP. Now, mind you, Beneficient is the company that he runs and owns, but HCLP is the company that he owns outright with no one else with him. So, in other words, he was funneling money from one of his companies that he owned into a company that only he owned. Now, supposedly the money was supposed to be for business growth. Instead, the funds flowed through to, well, him. So here's one of my first questions. If you were on GWG's board and you were told that we're investing in this company to pay off this debt to a third-party lender, what questions would you ask? Like, what would be the first thoughts that come through your mind?
What's it for?
Right?
Yeah, what's the company? What's the industry? What is it doing? What's the money going to be used for? Yeah, all of those kind of details. Show me proof. Show me what's going on.
Well, it says this article from the DOJ said that he installed himself as chairman of GWG's board and appointed his friends and associates as board members.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have been involved in those kind of situations, right? And it's basically whatever the chairman brings to the table, that's what's going to happen.
Exactly. But you got to wonder, did anyone even notice the conflict of interest? You were asking one company where you were the chairman of the board to invest heavily in another company that you actually owned.
It depends if he disclosed that.
Ah. But would he have to disclose it because Beneficient is a publicly traded company, isn't it?
Yep. Oh, well, GWG was publicly traded.
And so is Beneficient, trading on the
I
NASDAQ
believe it
under
is.
BENF. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So a quick search would have found that there was a conflict. So that goes to what Lisa's saying about doing due diligence. Due diligence conducted on both people and entities.
Oh.
Yeah.
Laundering through shell companies happens way more often than you would think.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Okay, but there's more. The funds that GWG moved to Beneficient, obviously they weren't small. The indictment says that GWG paid Beneficient about $300 million between 2018 and 2021. Now, at least 150 million of it was allegedly siphoned to HCLP, like I said earlier, under his control. And then meanwhile, GWG's business collapsed. It filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2022, owing over $2 billion with a B dollars, leaving many of its retail investors and particularly retirees with losses exceeding $1 billion.
So tell me, what's the definition of a retail investor?
I would think it would be
Usually,
just like a person, maybe.
That's what I was guessing.
your retail investor is usually individuals. They buy and sell securities for their own personal accounts rather than on behalf of institutions. So yeah. So we're talking almost like, and just hear me out on this one. We're almost talking about something similar to a Bernie Madoff type scheme, except for it wasn't done through an investment firm, quote unquote. It was done through siphoning money from one company and investing a large sum in another company, because the investors were a part of GWG.
It's a whole lot of acronyms.
Yeah.
We almost need a chart over here on the side that lists out the different companies and how everything ties together.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's go down and talk about this bank though for a minute that he created. Okay. The bank was a subsidiary of Beneficient, and it was called Beneficient Fiduciary Financial LLC, BFF. So they received a conditional charter from the Kansas Office of the State Bank Commissioner under the state law known as the Technology Enabled Fiduciary Financial Institution Act. That's a mouthful, right? So, according to the press release now, the charter was issued July of 2021. Now, here's what made this thing interesting. So, under the act, it is designed to allow, quote unquote, certain firms to handle alternative assets such as venture capital, private equity, or illiquid assets, right? To operate in Kansas under this new charter. Here's what they got in exchange for it. Because there's always got to be some sort of exchange, right?
Yep.
Beneficient committed to certain things in Kansas, including economic development contributions, so giving money for economic development, community investments, and things like that.
All good things.
So, okay, this happens a lot, right? Where cities, counties, states will say, if you move your company here, or if you open up business here, we will give you something. But usually it's something like we'll give you tax breaks.
Yeah.
Right? Not you invest this money here or do something like that. So anybody else getting like the chills with this one? It just seems like they said, you give money, you open this bank, you have the charter, do whatever you want to with it.
That's strange, but also like one of these articles that says he agreed to funnel money into a Kansas foundation. You know, first off, the fact that they used the term funnel was just kind of funny, but I also really wonder who's running that foundation.
Exactly. And
Like,
so
how far did how far did they trace this money?
yeah,
Did the
Marsha
state
says
not
robbing
do
Peter
their
to
due
pay Paul.
diligence? Yeah, sounds like the state didn't do their due diligence when they allowed this bank.
Oh, you're being nice, Stephanie. See, I was okay. You're being real nice because my thought was they don't care as long as the money came in.
Probably true.
No? I mean, as
'Cause
long
really,
as it's not a fraudulent event, which obviously this one was, but as long as it's not a fraudulent event, they just see it as I signed this document and now we have a revitalization, which gets me votes.
yeah. Well, okay,
And it's going to
because
pay for or it's going to pay for a study done by somebody within the government, and they're going to get lots of money to do a study on what to do with the money.
Yeah. Oh yes.
there you go. Because think about this. They got the bank charter in July of 2021. Now, by then, let's see. I'm trying to see what year did GWG go bankrupt. Darn it, I can't find it. So GWG went bankrupt in 2022, shortly after they got the charter. But surely there were signs that GWG was not doing well before that. You know, usually before a company goes bankrupt, there's signs well beforehand. Like there are several companies that we could probably think of right now that are in trouble and have been in trouble for years, and we know that they probably won't be around soon, long, right?
Oh yes.
They've been all over the news. They've had reorgs, all kinds of stuff. Now, Lisa's saying he's just playing the shell game. Yes, like three card Monty that they play in NYC. Yeah, yeah. Ah, no. Bob is asking the question: are the entities involved all part of the G Unit board? Now, all jokes aside, I get Bob's point though, right? Could the board members have been working together, and that's how they've been able to pull this thing off? Um,
This article says in 2020, GWG got a subpoena from the SEC relating to an ongoing enforcement investigation of GWG and Beneficient.
There you go. That's my point exactly. In 2020, you had this stuff going on, and yet in 2021, you allowed Hepner to get this specially chartered bank, even though he was involved and on the board at GWG, which was already having trouble to begin with. So if you know someone's a thief, or suspect, not know, if you suspect someone is a thief, why would you let them in your home?
Yeah.
And if they just done a little bit of research, they probably could have seen the ongoing investigation through the SEC's website. It's not that hard.
Yeah, yeah. But it gets better or worse, right? So let's talk about this bank charter. The bank charter obviously was not a traditional bank charter, right? For deposits and, with full regulatory oversight. The charter allowed the subsidiary to operate within the alternative assets niche rather than typical bank deposits. Here's where it gets a little more interesting. Regulators flagged that the Kansas law prevented the Office of State Bank Commissioner from regulating this bank as it would have done traditional banks or trusts. So, this new legislation that created this new type of bank charter, the bank it did not fall up under the Office of State Bank Commissioner's regulations. Now, the bank commissioner had something to say about this. He warned repeatedly that oversight and regulatory authority were limited under this new law. And this is how he described it. He described the model as a waterfall effect of risk.
You put a hole in those controls and the water's just going to come busting through.
Well, so I started doing a little digging. I decided to play Christine today, and you have the what was the pronunciation? Beneficient, the Beneficient Heartland Foundation, and that one just recently, with a big thanks to Mr. Brad Hebner for the $6.5 million donation to cover a community grocery store there. But then I was looking a little bit further into this, and that foundation, what is it? They claim they have yearly audited financial statements that are provided to the city council and such. But their website, all of their news stuff, their newsletters, all of that hasn't been updated in over a year. The last quarterly newsletter was August of last year. And it's funded by the Beneficient Fiducial Financial, which is a subsidiary of Beneficient.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and more recently, there are other articles that are saying that they're complaining because they're saying that the bank did not do everything that it said it was going to do under this new charter.
So I'm assuming because it wasn't regulated, it didn't have insurance and to protect the people.
Yeah. Well, here's the question, though. If you are this new financial institution who's made all these lofty promises, however, you don't fall up under any type of regulatory authority, then who makes sure that you uphold your promises?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're just joining us today, we're not going to recap because this one is so confusing. Okay, you know what? Just a brief recap. There was a gentleman that owned one company. He sat on the board of another company, and he convinced the company that he sat on the board of to actually give money in the form of a loan to the company in which he owned. He also got a special type of bank charter that allowed him to open up a bank in the state of Kansas. And he promised to do certain things within the community in Kansas in return for that bank charter. It's alleged that he siphoned $150 million into a company that he controlled. So they're alleging that he stole $150 million. And it's also alleged that he didn't do everything he promised to do under the bank charter. Does that about sum it up?
It's a pretty good summary. Yep.
This says he used the money for personal expenses, including to fund his lifestyle and to renovate his Dallas mansion and improve his East Texas ranch. Horses.
Oh,
A lot of money laundering and horsing.
oh yeah. So okay, he used the money for his Texas ranch and his Dallas mansion. They also said that he used it for private aviation, and I couldn't figure out, did he buy a plane or did he just buy, like timeshare in a
Charter.
plane?
Yeah. He probably used the private aviation to fly out to the ranch.
You're probably right. Because they also said allegedly jewelry and on his tax bills too, allegedly.
So it says the ranch is in Montalba. Where is Montalba, Texas? Let's see. It is. Oh, it's okay. A ranch. It's just southeast of Dallas.
Ah,
So that's, for those that don't know Texas, that's very wooded, kind of piney woods type area. Very wooded. It's not exactly ranching cattle type country. But anyway.
So he had a mansion in Dallas and then a ranch just outside of Dallas.
so there's a forfeiture of assets, 2 properties, both in Dallas. Well, one in Dallas and the one that Thomas just mentioned.
Mhm.
And then they're also saying that if any of the forfeiture property can't be, oh, never mind. I'm looking at the wrong thing now. But they've got 2 properties that they want him to forfeit. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull one of them up.
I wonder how
so that
much
we
cash he's got left. Seems like he was going through the cash as fast as he was taking it.
Yeah, which is why they're going after the properties.
Yeah.
And people don't steal to save money.
No.
That's true.
No, there's been times where they've stolen so much that they just still had a large chunk left. But with this one, between the property, but also the financial contributions to various politicians, yeah, it looked like he was going through it pretty quick.
I'm sure those
Now,
contributions maybe are his friends holding the money for him for when he gets out.
Could be.
Now, as of April of 2022, here's what that one property looked like that's in Dallas. So here it was being built, as you can see, but this is
Pulled it
not
up on Google
small.
Maps. That's awesome.
This is not small at all, right? Look at that.
Yep.
It's-
Looks like a school.
doesn't it? And again, this was April of 2022. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. We have some newer ones, I think. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, we do. Oh, look at that.
Wow.
Here's July of 2024.
So that's what, 20 million plus another 10 million. No, I'm sorry, 40 million, and then another. No, how much was that property? So I was just saying, I saw it was a $40 million renovation, according to this article. I can't imagine spending $40 million. Of course, if it's not my money, I guess I could see spending it. Can't imagine spending $40 million.
Trees are expensive.
Yeah.
Bob says all hat, no cattle.
That's exactly right.
Lisa's saying the board definitely didn't include a CFE like her. Yeah. This.
Nope.
Okay. On a related but side note, it does make you wonder, though, about the state of corporate boards. I know, let me just say this caveat. I realize it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback. That is very easy to do.
Yeah.
But how often do we see these cases that we talk about where It's always something so small and very simple. Just a Google search. You Google everything, where the restaurant is that you're going to, what you're gonna eat. What I feel like we Google everything nowadays, but we don't do a quick Google search on somebody that we're about to do $100 million worth of business with.
That just shows that you it doesn't matter how much you work with someone or how long you have. Trust is not a control. That's what it was.
Yeah,
They just relied on trust with the guy.
trust is definitely not a control. That's
He
for
must have
sure.
been a smooth talker.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he got a lot of people to trust him, right? Okay, so the home, you want to see another view of the home? It is worth $22 million.
Is that
Let's take a
Whoa.
look.
pre-renovation?
He spent 40 million on the renovation and it's only worth 22 million.
That's what it's saying right here on Zillow, but it's off the market right now. I don't, but let's take a look at it. Let's see what 22 million gets us here. So that's a pretty nice. Look at that. Whoa, it's a
I'm just
castle.
thinking about all the maintenance it would take to keep all that up.
You have people for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's probably what the rest of the money is for, the staff.
Right?
That's pretty.
Okay. Look at that. Huh. So this is what 22 million again. This is what
Yeah.
22 million again. Sorry, I didn't mean to have that reaction. That just huh. Oh, now that's nice.
People are
I don't know.
listening to the podcast right now going, we can't see anything.
Huh?
So people are listening to the podcast right now going, I can't see anything.
Oh, you're right. Oh, there's a
Oh, home
theater in the
theater.
home.
Okay,
Nice.
all
Now,
right. You know what? I got to give him props for that. If I had an extra, millions to spend, I totally want a home theater like that. That's awesome. I like it. I wonder whose
you know,
autographed guitar that is on the wall.
yeah, I wonder if I could zoom in.
He
See,
had
you
to
gotta be
invest his laundered money into, art, collectibles.
Um,
oh, you know what? Yeah.
It looks like a signed
Oh,
jersey over there from the Dallas Mavericks.
yep.
Probably have his
Now,
season
let's
tickets.
talk about the poor victims, right? The victims, thousands of retail investors. Again, they said many of them were retirees, and they purchased GWG's so-called L bonds, and they believed that they were going to get a reliable yield on those bonds. So that's how they were able to get the investors, and that's why GWG ended up going under because those bonds they aren't any good. So they had about 40 broker dealers that sold close to 1.6 billion in GWGL bonds. They were supposed to be backed by life settlements, but that didn't happen. That didn't end well for them. Um,
So I wonder if any of those people got any money back. If
yeah,
there was
Yeah.
any kind of insurance or, investment. Usually bonds are safe. You think, okay, a bond is safe, but depends on, the kind of bond.
yeah. But seriously, doesn't this sound like Madoff? Except for we use the bonds, and instead of you investing with the smooth talking representative, you had an actual company, GWG, that was selling the bonds, and they were selling them through broker dealers. So that's another angle. You didn't go directly to GWG. You went through a broker dealer who was probably licensed, had their Series 7 or whatever, and said, hey, I want to invest money in these L bonds. Trust me, I'm your broker dealer. So what they ended up doing, if you really think about this, they created that relationship that was conducive for fraud by going directly to the people that their victims knew, who were their broker dealers.
Yep.
This was actually pretty smart. I mean, and criminal, don't get me wrong. But okay. So,
So it mentions that he basically milked one company as long as he could, and then bailed. They filed for bankruptcy, and then he bailed on another company, and they filed for bankruptcy. It's almost like whenever you have check kiting, like eventually you're gonna get sick, something's gonna happen, you're gonna get caught. Like how would it? I wonder what was he thinking he could do to just kind of walk away successfully with this, or did he think that he just was it always just a game? I wonder.
It's like a house of cards coming down.
Yeah.
it's a good point.
Did it say how long he was running these scams? I didn't catch it.
I think it
No,
said
it's
from
not.
2018 to 2022.
Right.
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the transfers to beneficent occurred between 2018 and 2021. And then remember, the bank charter started in 2021. So to your point, Thomas, you move from one thing to the next.
Yeah.
So now the bank charter is going to be how we fund and cover up this first thing that we did. Then when the bank collapses, we'll have something else to cover up the bank collapse. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was probably hoping that bankruptcies could help cover up a lot of it as well.
Absolutely.
He faces a long time in jail.
Ooh, okay. So let's get to the turning point and how this was discovered, though. This is where it gets real interesting. Like really, really interesting, at least to me. The turning point happened in June of 2025. Hepner resigned from Beneficent rather than cooperating with the audit committee.
Yeah.
They weren't afraid to do their job.
That was interesting the way that was worded. Right? I was not expecting them to say audit committee.
Yeah. So apparently the audit committee saw some irregularities and they began asking questions. The more questions they asked, the more he got put into a corner. And so finally in June, he resigned. And then in November, the indictment was unsealed in the Southern District of New York, charging him with securities fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, falsification of records, and false statements to, guess who? Auditors.
Yeah.
So what it looks like the tip-off was the audit committee asking questions.
But it took how many years for the audit committee to start asking the right questions?
Yeah, it took a while.
Yeah.
I mean, looks like 6, right? But there you go. Lisa's saying it. Open one scam, run it in the ground, rebrand, and open up a new scam. That's
Do it again.
yeah.
Let's repeat.
Yeah. So what kind of questions should the audit committee be asking that could have caught this earlier?
You know what? So here's what I think. I think anytime an organization is coming to you with investment opportunities, you have to ask, who's in charge at the other company? Like an acquisition, who's in charge? And you need to do background checks on the people that are in charge at the other companies. That alone would have helped them to find out that this dude had controlling interest in the other company. The other thing that I think you should ask is, okay, who's in charge at the other company? You need to get the management team to give you a list of the risk as well as the risk on the detriment side as well as the risk on the positive side. Because we always look at risk like they're bad, but without risk, there is no reward. So ask, what is the upside of this deal that we're about to do? How do we stand to benefit? And then ask, what are the risks that will impede us from meeting this goal? And you have to hammer through those one by one and figure out, is it really worth it?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And Lisa's saying, of course, the board should have included an auditor or a CFE. This is the problem that I have. You all have heard me say this before. I think that a current or former chief audit executive should be on every board. Because the one thing that we do is we ask a lot of questions. Sometimes we annoy people, but we ask a lot of questions.
Well,
There
and
you go.
we've either seen fraud or we've studied it or we've listened to podcasts or so we're aware of different schemes and stuff that go on. So a red flag might come up to us that it doesn't pop up to someone else. So yeah, having someone like that on the board, specifically on the audit committee, yeah, I definitely agree.
Well, and I think another big thing boards can do too is really look at your approval authorities within your organization. Like every organization has an approval authority matrix, but oftentimes they update it, look at it once a year, and then shelve it. Are you really living that thing? It's there for a reason. Or does your CEO, your CFO, do they have the ability to just approve whatever in reality, regardless of what your approval matrix says, right? Because in those instances, they'll do it. Because one of you just said earlier, by the time it gets to the board, it's a done deal, really. The chairman has brought it. So we're going to do this thing. One of the things I always say about due diligence is don't diligence, because most of us don't do it. It's not due diligence, it's don't diligence.
Very true.
Uh-oh, Stephanie's looking for something. She's found something.
I'm always looking for something. It's interesting because it says, so in the news release from Beneficent, it says they parted ways with him and that they're going to continue to vigorously pursue its own potential claims against him and entities associated with him on behalf of its shareholders. Not that that's going to go anywhere.
So, eh, hmm. So, that bank in Kansas, it's it was Beneficent Fiduciary Financial LLC, or BFF. They called it Ben for short. And so I don't want to be a little snarky here, but the website is trustben.com.
I mean, I trust Ben, it's my husband's name, but
so so trustben.com. I, hmm.
It seems like Rob's biting his tongue on a lot of comments and thoughts right now.
Yeah, I am, cause I know sometimes I'll let loose, but it's mm. So okay. So let's take a look at the board at Ben. You got James Silk as the CEO, Derek Fletcher, Greg Ezel, David Roost, and then Maria Rutledge as the Chief Technology Officer.
that kind of looks like
So,
she's sitting on her side, like it's not necessarily a professional headshot.
oh yeah, she worked at MUFG, huh? Okay. Ooh, there's a name I hadn't seen in a while. She worked at CompUSA. Well, and the thing is too,
Are they still around?
no, I don't think so.
So,
The thing is, he probably tricked them as well. I'm fairly certain they didn't know about it,
It said he brought his friends and people he knew onto the other board. I'm wondering if any of these people were involved in that, and maybe they do know.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, only time will tell.
Trump USA closed up in 2012, so it's been a couple of years.
It's been a hot
Yeah.
minute.
And they were founded in Addison, Texas.
Comp USA?
Yeah. So there you go. I don't know what to say about this one. Okay, here are a couple of things that surprised me though. I will say one thing that surprised me was assets. Just the two homes. They didn't mention anything about a lot of cash and other stuff, which brings me back to Stephanie's point. You don't really steal cash to keep it, but usually you convert it into other assets, which, you know.
Artwork, jewels. Didn't it say there was jewelry as well on that list?
Yeah.
Maybe he gave his wife some nice jewels.
Maybe, you know. Uh-oh, Lisa's saying they knew.
I think
He's
so
saying the
too.
board
I
knew.
think Lisa's right.
Uh-oh. You all think they knew? Really? Okay. Okay, so
But you
why do you
can't
think
plead
they knew?
willful negligence.
Okay, so why do you think they knew, Stephanie? I'm curious now.
That's a whole lot of money. I think he was just some smooth cowboy, and he was just that, you know. And usually they are, the scammers. They're smooth talking. They're trustworthy. You know, they command authority, and so you like, okay, well, clearly they know what they're doing. So they don't always question it, but I think that people are pretty smart in general.
Okay, so you think deep down they knew they were just collecting their big paychecks and keeping quiet.
Well,
They
how do you
just they
know?
didn't want.
Sorry, I was going to say, how do you know which executive in your company is stealing funds? You do a parking lot audit, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
you can't tell me they couldn't do a Google audit, you know, to find out, oh, he's got this multi-million-dollar house that he owns. Does that really tie up with whatever he's making? And maybe it did, but
It's
you know,
probably owned under another shell company or trust.
good point. Yep. Yep. But having that house and then also having the ranch, you know, property and stuff too, you can't tell me he didn't talk about it. Maybe even invite him to have a board meeting out at the ranch. It was only an hour and a half drive from Dallas.
Okay. And Lisa's saying birds of a feather. I still am looking at this as like, you know how when some sort of event occurs, we learn from it and we quote unquote get better next time. Like if it's a good event, we learn and we get better next time. And if it's a bad event, I'm seeing so many parallels between this and Bernie Madoff. The only difference is they used it like a true pyramid scheme. What are some of the ones back in the day? They had this water that people would sell, and then all those goods that you would sell as a pyramid scheme. Hey, you get certain people under you, and then they,
Like
sell a
Amway.
certain number. Yeah, like Amway. Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of. So it seems like this is reminiscent of that because they sold those junk bonds under different broker dealers. And the broker dealers had the relationships, and the broker dealers fanned out and said, buy these bonds, $150 million worth.
But that's
You
how
think?
much he took that he misappropriated. So it was way more than that.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think they had any clue that he was scamming?
I don't think so. I don't think the broker dealers had a clue. And here's the other thing. I'm betting that they had really nice why am I losing my whole train of thought today? Their bonus structure was really their incentive package for selling the bonds was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that could have been a clue because it may have been too good to be true. It may have been higher than similar products, but I don't think they knew.
And
But
the
if he's
economy
promoting
around
it
that
as,
time,
go ahead, Stephanie. Sorry.
I mean, the economy around that time, you're talking about, COVID, if you're talking about starting in 2018 through, so I mean, people were hungry. These,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
But remember what else happened?
they probably didn't want to know because they just wanted to get paid.
Well, remember what else happened in 2022 though? In 2020 and then 2 TOO. A lot of people were flush with cash because they got the PPP loans. A lot of people had cash during COVID. Now
Wonder
Lisa's
if they
saying
got
the
a
brokers knew.
PPP loan.
Exactly. Lisa's saying that the brokers knew, and she said, "High, yeah, that's what I was saying. High incentives, yeah, yeah, yeah."
Yeah.
But yeah, I Mohammed, what's going on? I'm just drawing so many parallels to this and Bernie Madoff, just in a smarter way, I think, than Bernie. Well, maybe not smarter because Bernie lasted a whole lot longer.
Yeah, you kind of wonder what the next steps were that were planned if he would have got to keep going with it. Like, could he have gotten the size of Madoff?
Yeah,
Bernie had had the banks going too. They had a lack of controls, and so I think that lasted a lot longer. Maybe where he was keeping his money or moving his money to, they had a little tighter controls. And so that with the FBI was doing the investigation, so it could be, a combination of sources that brought this all up. So maybe the bank where
yeah.
the money was, they were a little smarter.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
why I think the next play was the bank. He owned the bank at this point. Because what could have happened is he could have actually run the bank into the ground and the bank would have become insolvent and then the FDIC would have taken over and sold the assets for pennies on the dollar, but that still would have
I thought it
covered up
was
his criminal operation. Oh, that's
thought
right. It
this
wasn't under
bank
the
it's all
FDIC.
right. No, so it wasn't
Yeah, yeah,
regulated. It was
yeah, that's
alternative
right.
assets, which no idea what that.
But that's even better because now you're not regulated. And if you go under, you just go under. Oh, you know what? That's even worse because you have no FDIC insurance. So if that bank goes under, the feds may not even be concerned with it because they're not on the hook for that insurance.
True.
Ah,
How often do investigations go on because the insurance company has risen the red flags to investigate?
Bob says he was learning to fly so he could escape to Mexico when it all crumbled. He was going to be a DB Cooper, right? Lisa says he didn't have an exit plan, just out of the country. And here's the thing. I think on a lot of these, what we see is, I think when a fraud gets to be so big, oftentimes the people committing the fraud think that they're untouchable.
True. You get away with it long enough, you think you can just keep going.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, you saw this house. This house, I mean, this house is ginormous and it's worth $22 million. 12,000 square feet, 5
So
bedrooms,
small.
8 baths.
8 bathrooms. Why do you need 8 bathrooms with five? Well, I'm sure the home theater has its own bathroom.
Oh, but wait. It's gone up. Oh, wow. Since 2022, it's doubled. It was around 10 million in 2022, and now it's at the 22
Probably
million.
because of that remodel.
Oh yeah.
And that's probably
Yeah.
just the assessed value, not the actual
Yeah, yeah.
sales value, since it hasn't been sold.
True. True. But this looks like a castle.
It's beautiful.
All right. Anybody else got anything more on this one? Let's see, did we get through all of this one? This was crazy.
Yeah, I think we hit
Um,
everything.
think it says he faces about 85 years, although I don't think that's going to happen.
There you go. Okay, so let's look at the bigger picture here and what can we take away? Okay. He had created this facade. He was on a board, so he had a board seat at an organization. He started a bank, so he had a bank charter. He had a fancy title, and all of this hid a lot of what he was doing allegedly for quite some time. He was involved in high risk investments, shell companies. It was very, very complex. But when you look at it at the end of the day, the huge gaps were the same things we still see. You had regulatory gaps because the bank wasn't under the regulatory agency in Kansas. You had the audit committee who actually found the fraud and actually started pressing for answers. But then you had other independent board members who are the guardrails that may not have done what they needed to do in some of the other companies.
Kind of makes you like if I was working for one of those other companies, I would start really investigating stuff too. Right? I would start being hyper paranoid, not just about any transactions that this guy was part of, but just in general. It's like if I miss this, what else am I missing? You know?
Yeah. But this is the same stuff we see all the time, right? Conflicts of interest, because he was on the board of one company, he controlled too much in another company, he created a shell company. We had, it sounds like initially moderate to weak governance until the one audit committee in one of the companies started asking questions. And then it looked like possibly some segregation of duties issues because how does the money get transferred? So it's always governance, oversight, segregation of duties.
Yep. So simple, yet so overlooked.
Oh, yeah, Lisa's saying send the money to the Cayman Islands. Oh, yeah, Netflix should do one on this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and we hadn't, oh, never mind. I'm not going to even say it. Okay. So, did we miss anything on this one?
Only what the three of us are laughing about, but other than that, nope, didn't miss a thing.
Okay. All right. So, thank you for joining us this week on the Friday Fraudster. Oh, you know what? I already know what story we're going to do next week. I'm going to tell you guys in a minute when we get off air. Next week is going to be real funny and a lot of fun. So with that said, we'll see you all next week.